Ethan Ward always said law school was a battlefield, but I never realized I'd lose more than just sleep. I'd lose him. If irony had a name, it would be Caleb Monroe. My once greatest rival, my nemesis, my secret heartbreak. And now, after years of silence, he's standing across from me again, wearing the same arrogant smirk that used to make me want to throw a Booker my heart at him. It's been 7 years since we last saw each other. 7 years since graduation, when he walked away without looking back, leaving me to wonder if the tension between us, these stolen glances, the midnight debates that felt like confessions, had all been in my head. But fate is cruelly efficient. Because now, in the gleaming lobby of Parker & Dunn LLP, one of New York's most cutthroat law firms, he's not just a face from my past. He's my new co-counsel. The room feels colder the moment our eyes meet. His gaze drifts over me, calm and unreadable, like he's evaluating a witness. I wish I could do the same, keep my expression professional, detached, but every nerve in my body remembers. He looks older, sharper. The boy who used to tease me about color-coded notes has turned into a man with authority stitched into every line of his tailored suit. "Ethan Ward," he says finally, his tone clipped but soft around the edges. "Didn't think I'd see you here. You and me both," I answer, forcing a half-smile. "Guess the legal world's smaller than it looks." He smirks, same infuriating, heart-squeezing curve of lips I thought I'd forgotten. Some things never change. Except they do. And we did. We're assigned to the same case, a high-profile civil suit involving a billionaire tech CEO accused of silencing whistleblowers. The stakes are massive, the hours brutal, and the tension between us palpable enough to choke on. Working with Caleb is like trying to breathe underwater. Every late-night strategy session, every argument over precedent, every time our hands brush when passing documents, it's all electric. Dangerous. Familiar. One night, while poring over files in the conference room, I finally snap. "Do you ever stop being perfect?" I mutter, eyes on the pages but heart hammering. He looks up, the corner of his mouth twitching. "You used to call it arrogance. Now it's perfection. Don't flatter yourself." I shoot back, but my voice cracks. He leans forward, his gaze locking onto mine with disarming intensity. "You're still terrible at hiding when you care about something, Ethan." My throat tightens. "And you're still insufferable." The silence stretches. Then, softly, he says, "You missed me." It's not a question. And the worst part is right. Flashback. Law school, 7 years ago. The first time I met Caleb Monroe. He just humiliated a visiting professor with an argument so razor-sharp it could have drawn blood. Everyone adored him, the prodigy with charm, ambition, and a smirk that could disarm judges. Everyone except me. I'd worked twice as hard, studied twice as long, and still somehow always ended up second to him. He'd turn in his papers with a wink, and I'd drown in resentment and something dangerously close to admiration. We'd fight in study groups, challenge each other in mock trials, and sometimes, when the world outside the library faded into darkness, our rivalry would blur into something else entirely. There were nights when I swore he looked at me the same way I looked at him, like the line between hate and want had vanished. But he never said a word. Until the night before graduation. We'd both stayed late to rehearse for the commencement speech competition. The campus was quiet, the air thick with anticipation and regret. "You're really leaving?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, clean, sharp, with a hint of cedar. "I have to," he whispered. "You and I, we're too similar. We'd burn each other alive." And then he left. No kiss, no goodbye, just the echo of everything we could have been. Back in the present, I tell myself I'm over him. But late nights in the office make liars out of all of us. One evening, after a long deposition, I find him standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. His reflection in the glass looks almost fragile. "Do you ever stop pretending you don't care?" I ask quietly. He doesn't turn around. "Do you ever stop pretending you don't still hate me?" "I don't hate you." He turns then, eyes dark and searching. "Then what do you feel, Ethan?" My breath catches. The city hums around Ashorns, sirens, life moving too fast. But right here, time holds still. I don't know, I whisper. Maybe I never did. He steps closer until there's barely an inch between us. His voice is low, almost a confession. I never stopped thinking about you. Something in me cracks. Years of restraint, of denial, of carefully built walls gone in a heartbeat. When his hand brushes mine, I don't pull away this time. We fall into old patterns, arguing, laughing, daring each other to cross the line. But the difference now is that we're not pretending anymore. One night, after a particularly brutal client meeting, we end up at his apartment. Rain drums softly against the windows. He hands me a glass of bourbon and sits beside me on the couch. You remember the last thing I said to you before graduation? He asks. You said we'd burn each other alive. He nods. I was wrong. Maybe fire's not something to fear. Maybe it's what keeps us alive. I laugh, but it sounds like a sob. You always did like your metaphors. He takes the glass from my hand, sets it down, and looks at me like he's memorizing every detail. I like you more. And then he kisses me. It's not gentle, not perfect. It's desperate, messy, real. Years of tension collapsing into a single, breathless moment that feels like coming home. When we finally pull away, he's trembling slightly. Ethan, he says softly, I don't want to lose you again. I rest my forehead against his. Then don't. But life, as always, has a way of testing promises. A week later, the case explodes in the media. Accusations fly, ethics are questioned, and suddenly we're both under scrutiny. The firm demands loyalty. The client demands silence. And Caleb is hiding something. The next morning, chaos hits like a storm. Every screen in the firm's glass-walled lobby flashes the same headline in bold. Whistleblower case under fire. Leaked emails suggest internal conflict between lead attorneys. My stomach drops. The names Caleb Monroe and Ethan Ward are splashed across every major outlet. Whispers ripple through the halls as I step out of the elevator. Faces turn. People stare. I catch fragments, conflict of interest. Unprofessional conduct. Are they sleeping together? I clench my fists. The world of corporate law thrives on perception. Not truth, and right now, perception is poison. Then I see him, Caleb, standing by the conference room doors, expression carved from stone, phone in hand. He's already in crisis mode, jaw tight, sleeves rolled up, the weight of the firm pressing down on his shoulders. Our eyes meet, and for a split second, it's like being back in law school again, two people trying to pretend rivalry is easier than intimacy. He gestures for me to follow. In here. Now. Behind closed doors, the air is sharp with tension. He throws his phone onto the table. The screen flashes with a dozen unread messages. Someone leaked our strategy files, he says, voice low but controlled. And the press spun it into something personal. The firm's board is demanding answers by noon. I sink into the chair across from him. You think it's internal? He nods. It has to be. Someone wanted to discredit us, maybe even tank the case. I glance at him carefully. You're not saying they think he cuts me off. They're saying exactly that. I laugh bitterly. So what, we're the scandal now? Caleb runs a hand through his hair, frustration flickering beneath his calm exterior. You know how this works, Ethan. They don't care about the truth. They care about headlines. Headlines don't destroy careers. I snap. People do. He looks at me, then really looks, and for the first time I see fear. Not of losing the case, but of losing something else. Let me handle this, he says quietly. No, I fire back. I'm not letting you take the fall for something neither of us did. He hesitates, his voice barely above a whisper. You don't understand what's at stake. Oh, I understand perfectly, I say. You're scared they'll find out about us. He flinches just slightly, but it's enough. Silence fills the room like smoke. Ethan. His tone softens. This isn't just about us. There's more going on here. What do you mean? But before he can answer, the door bursts open. Ward, Monroe, says our managing partner, Ms. Parker, her tone sharp as a blade. My office. Now. Her office smells like cedarwood and control. Every inch of it screams authority, from the minimalist decor to the view overlooking Manhattan's skyline. She doesn't offer us seats. I don't need to remind you how serious this is, she begins. You two are lead counsel on a case worth over $200 million. And now, the media's painting you as, she pauses, eyes narrowing, a liability. Caleb straightens his tie. We're working to identify the source of the leak. Ms. Parker's gaze flicks to me. And what about you, Mr. Ward? Anything to disclose? My throat tightens. No, ma'am. Her eyes linger. She's too sharp not to notice the tension between us. I expect a resolution by end of day, she says finally. Or I'll pull you both off the case. Effective immediately. When we're alone again, I exhale shakily. She knows. She suspects. Caleb corrects. Same thing. He leans against the glass wall, rubbing his temples. This is exactly why I didn't want. I cut him off, anger flaring. Didn't want what, Caleb? Didn't want to admit that what's between us is real. His voice rises. What's between us could destroy everything we've worked for. And what's the alternative? Pretend we don't care? Pretend this doesn't hurt. He falls silent. For a long time, neither of us speaks. The city stretches out below, ruthless, glittering, indifferent. Finally, he says quietly, You once told me you wanted to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. I nod, barely breathing. Then let's start now, he says. Not for the firm. For us. That night, we stay late again this time. Not out of obligation but desperation. We go through files line by line, tracing digital footprints, searching for the leak. Coffee cups pile up, the clock ticks past midnight, and exhaustion blurs the edges of everything. Then Caleb freezes. Wait! He zooms in on a timestamp. This file was accessed last week. From an external server. Who's the user? Ask. He frowns. Daniel Ross. My pulse spikes. Daniel, our paralegal. Charming, efficient, and recently suspiciously nervous around me. Why would he? I begin, but Caleb's already moving. We're confronting him. Daniel's still in the office when we find him, packing up. The look on his face when we enter says everything. Didn't mean to. Save it, Caleb snaps. You leaked client files to the press? Daniel swallows hard. They offered me money. I didn't think it'd blow up like this. They said they just wanted proof of misconduct. Misconduct? I echo. He looks at me, guilt spilling over. They said you too were involved. That if I found anything to prove it, they'd pay double. The air turns to ice. So you sold us out for a rumor, Caleb says coldly. Daniel's voice breaks. I'm sorry. Caleb steps closer, anger flashing in his eyes. For a second, I think he might hit him. But then he exhales, turning away. Get out, he says. Before I make this official. Daniel bolts. I sink into a chair, the adrenaline fading into nausea. It's my fault. I should have been more careful. Caleb kneels in front of me. No, this isn't your fault. It's mine. I should have protected you. I laugh bitterly. From what? The truth. He looks up at me then, eyes full of something raw and broken. From the world that doesn't want to see us happy. And suddenly I'm crying, not because of the leak or the case, but because I finally understand. This isn't just about rivalry or redemption. It's about survival. The next morning, Ms. Parker calls us back in. Caleb presents the evidence with clinical precision, outlining every step Daniel took. The firm's investigators confirm the leak. By noon, Daniel's been terminated. The case is back under control. But the damage at least to uslingers. The whispers don't stop. The glances don't fade. And even though we've been cleared, I can feel the invisible wall closing in. At lunch, Caleb joins me at a cafe across the street. He looks tired, dark circles under his eyes, his voice quieter than usual. They'll never look at us the same way again, I say. He stirs his coffee absent-mindedly. Maybe that's not a bad thing. I frown. What do you mean? He looks up, meeting my eyes. Maybe it's time we stop trying to fit into their idea of who we should be. For a moment, I just stare at him. Caleb, he smiles faintly. You once said you wanted to make law human again. Maybe this is where it starts. By being the scandal? I ask Riley. By being honest, he says. With ourselves. Weeks pass. The case moves forward. Our teamwork stronger than ever. The whispers eventually fade, replaced by grudging respect. We win motions, discredit witnesses, and slowly rebuild what was broken. But beneath the surface, something's shifted. Our partnership isn't just professional Anna Marie, it's trust forged through fire. Late nights blur into early mornings, and somewhere between depositions and draft briefs, I start to believe we might actually be okay. Then, on the eve of the trial, Caleb gets a call that changes everything. I find him standing on the rooftop, phone still in his hand, the wind tugging at his tie. His expression is unreadable. What happened? Ask. He doesn't answer right away. That was the firm's board. They've decided to pull me from the case. What? They think I'm a liability. The media's still spinning stories. They want a clean face representing the firm. I step closer, disbelief clawing at me. You can't just accept that. He turns to me, eyes shining with something dangerously close to defeat. If I fight it, it'll only hurt you. They'll dig deeper. They'll make you collateral damage. So you're just going to walk away again? I whisper. He swallows hard. If it means protecting you, yes. No, I say firmly. Not this time. He looks at me, surprise flickering across his face. I spent years trying to forget you. I continue. Years convincing myself you didn't care. But you do. And I'm done letting fear decide for us. He laughs softly, brokenly. You always were stubborn. Yeah, I say, stepping closer. And I'm not letting you go. For a moment, the city noise fades, the honking cars, the chatter, the chaos. It's just us. Two men on a rooftop against the world. He takes my hand, his voice trembling. Then what do? I squeeze his fingers. We fight. Together. The next day, we walk into court side by side. Heads turn. Cameras flash. The story's already out, two attorneys accused of crossing lines. Now defending one of the biggest cases of the year. But we don't hide. We argue with precision, passion, and truth. Every objection, every statement feels like defiance, proof that love and integrity can coexist, that we don't have to choose one over the other. By the time the verdict is read, not guilty, courtroom is silent. Caleb turns to me, and for the first time in years, he smiles without restraint. We did it, he whispers. I nod, my voice barely steady. Yeah, we did. That night, after the press conference, we walk along the Brooklyn Bridge. The city glows around us, endless and alive. He stops, resting his hands on the railing. You know, I used to think success meant winning every fight. And now, ask. He glances at me, a soft smile playing on his lips. Now I think it means not running away from the right ones. I chuckle. Took you long enough to figure that out. He steps closer, his voice barely above the wind. Guess I needed you to remind me. And when he kisses me this time, it's different, no urgency, no fear, just quiet certainty. The city moves on beneath us. But for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm chasing something. I feel like I've arrived. A month after the trial, everything feels quieter, almost too quiet. The chaos has settled. The headlines have moved on to fresher scandals. Parker and Dunn offers Caleb a discreet settlement to keep his exit graceful. And though it hurts, he accepts. I stay. The partners hint at promotion, showering me with compliments laced in guilt. But the corner office doesn't feel like victory, it feels like a void. Because he's not there. The nights are the hardest. The hum of the city feels louder without his steady breathing beside me, without the way he'd mumble case notes in his sleep. Every win tastes hollow. Every morning feels unfinished. Until one evening, when I find an envelope slipped under my apartment door. My name, written in Caleb's unmistakable handwriting. Inside, a single line. Meet me where we almost burned alive. It's late when I arrive at the old law school courtyard. The lamps cast soft halos on the cobblestones, just like they did 7 years ago the night before graduation, the night he walked away. And there he is, leaning against the fountain, hands tucked in his coat pockets, that same half-smile on his lips. "You came," he says quietly. "I always do," I reply. He laughs softly, a sound that feels like coming home. "I wasn't sure you'd still want to see me. I wasn't sure you'd let me," I admit. He steps closer, eyes searching mine. "I had to figure out who I was without the world telling me who I should be. Without the firm. Without the fear. And, ask," he exhales. "I figured out that I'm miserable without you." I let out a shaky breath. "You always did take your time with confessions." He smiles. "Lawyers don't rush evidence." For a moment we just stand there, the past hovering between every fight, every silence, every almost. Then he says, "I got an offer. A non-profit legal aid center in D.C. They're building a team for social justice reform." I said I'd only take it if. "If what?" "If you'd come with me." My heart stumbles. "You're serious?" He nods. "Ethan, I don't care about prestige anymore. I care about making things right. About waking up next to someone who makes me want to." I can't speak for a moment. My throat burns. "You think running away again fixes us?" He steps closer, voice trembling. "No. But maybe building something new does." The wind picks up, scattering autumn leaves around our feet. For a heartbeat, the world feels still. And I realize he's not running this time. He's reaching. So I reach back. I take his hand. "Then let's go build something." 2 years later, the DC office is small, cluttered, and full of hope. We share a desk half the size of the one we had in New York. But it's enough. The cases we take now aren't about billion-dollar verdicts, they're about people. Immigrants, whistleblowers, single parents trying to be heard. And we're happy. On weekends, we bike along the Potomac. Caleb insists on packing terrible sandwiches, claiming it's character building. I let him believe it. We still argue about precedents, about coffee brands, about who left the printer jammed. But the arguments end with laughter or a kiss or both. Sometimes, when I catch him leaning over a case file, glasses slipping down his nose, I remember the boy from law school, the arrogant, brilliant kid who made me furious and alive in equal measure. And I realize he's still that boy, just softer now, braver. One night, after a long day, we sit on our tiny balcony overlooking the city lights. He hands me a beer, leans back, and says, "You know, I think we finally did it." "Did what?" Ask. He gestures to the skyline. "Stopped competing." I smile. "Speak for yourself. I still win every argument." He laughs low and warm. "Sure you do." There's a long pause. Then he says, almost shyly, "My mom's coming to visit next week." I raise a brow. "The same mom who once told you not to get distracted by me?" "The very same." "Should I be worried?" He shakes his head. "No. She knows about us now." I told her. My chest tightens. "And," he smiles, "she said she's happy I finally found someone who challenges me." I laugh, eyes stinging. "Guess miracles happen." He turns toward me, brushing a hand against my cheek. "No miracle, just persistence." And then he kisses me slow and steady, like the world can wait. Later that night, after he's fallen asleep on the couch, I sit by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. If someone had told me years ago that I'd end up here working pro bono cases with the man who once drove me insane, I'd have laughed. But now I know, love isn't a lightning strike. It's a slow burn, a choice you keep making, even when the world tells you not to. We burned once. Now we keep the fire alive. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.